Type 45 destroyer is a guided missile destroyer, meaning precisely what it says on the tin. Its role is to provide close threat support and escort to other fleet vessels, while still retaining a lot of firepower for itself with auxiliary function for land strike. So I think that's rather important, and we're going to look at it today. I'm basically just going to go over all of the basic information, the physical engineering information you might need to know. And this is going to be a pretty broad overview, but I think it's worth covering. So there are currently 6 active Type 45 destroyer ships with the Royal Navy. That's HMS Daring, HMS Dauntless, HMS Diamond, HMS Dragon, HMS Defender, and HMS Duncan. And Daring is the name of the class named after the first ship. It has a range of in excess of 7,000 nautical miles, a complement, you can accommodate that is, of 191 crewmen with extra accommodation for up to 285. It has a speed of in excess of 32 knots, which is about 37 miles per hour. In regard to installed power, because it takes a lot of power to run, just generally, this absolute behemoth of a vehicle, this behemoth of a ship, it has 2 Rolls-Royce WR-21 gas turbines, which have been known to have the occasional failure, as well as either 2, and I'm going to butcher this because I think it's got to be a Finnish word. Anyway, 2 Wärtsilä 12V200 diesel generators or 3 MTU 400 diesel generators. In regard to propulsion, the thing that actually drives this huge ship, it has 2 shafts with integrated electric propulsion, which use 2 General Electric conversion advanced induction motors and VDM 25,000 drives. So it is basically a guided missile destroyer, meaning it's got to have a lot of capability. But in regard to auxiliary capability, a lot of what provides it with such power is the ability to carry aircraft. So it can carry 1 Type 2 Wildcat, which can be armed with either 4 Sea Venom anti-ship missiles from 2022 onwards, before I think it used Harpoon, or 2 Stingray anti-submarine torpedoes, or 20 Martlet multi-role air-to-surface missiles, or I think Mark 11 depth charges. Alternatively, it can use a Merlin, which can be armed with 4 Stingray anti-submarine torpedoes. In regard to its aviation facilities, it's got a Chinook-capable flight deck, which has been transferred or carried on with the Type 31 and Type 32, or will be with the Type 32, as well as an enclosed hangar, and that's really something I think significant about the Type 45, is that it's got an incredibly sleek design. It's brilliantly aesthetic. And it's got this incredible composite external paneling, which is well armoured, but it really matches the sort of super weapon profile that you would expect of such an advanced destroyer. So it's got this enclosed hangar, meaning that everything inside is well protected. To buy one of these, to buy a Type 45 destroyer, it will set you back about, at the time at least, 1,050 million per unit. That's the unit cost, and the solution itself is produced by BAE Systems Maritime. In regard to communications, because I think this is rather important, the supporting infrastructure, the Type 45 is fitted with fully integrated connection system, which is FIC 45, which provides all sorts of voice, intercom, data links, conference calls, internally and externally within the ship, or outside of the ship, which gives it brilliant tactical prowess, effectively. It performs really, really well because it's got brilliant communication infrastructure. It also has, in regard to tactical and strategic value, I guess, it's got brilliant meteorological and oceanographical, if that's the right word, systems, which is METOC. And basically that can provide excellent foreknowledge for the ship and provide for the strike group, or if it's operating alone itself, that it's a part of. Brilliant knowledge of what's to come, of the weather conditions, of the ocean conditions, of what's ahead as well. So it's got total awareness of the surrounding environment, both of that which is enemy and that which is just the natural environment. So in regard to guns, because people tend to like guns, it has one 4.5-inch Mark 8 naval gun, two 30mm guns, which are DS-30B, two phalanx systems, which are, they fire 20mm, and that's CWIS, so close-in weapon system designed to defeat whatever munitions come its way that are trying to hit it. It's got two miniguns, which operate, I believe, with the 7.62 caliber, and then 6 mounted GPMGs, which again use the 7.62mm, and they have a 70mm magazine, utilising the armour Kevlar splinter protection. In regard to AA missiles, because it is a guided missile destroyer, this is its primary weapon. It uses Sea Viper, which is produced by MBDA, I think. I really should have looked that up, but I'm only doing one take. Anyway, the Type 45 destroyer has that as its principal weapon, the Sea Viper. Sea Viper is brilliant, not only because it's a brilliant missile on its own, but because of the brilliant, and I've said brilliant a lot, I really do have a pattern of repeating myself with these adjectives. Anyway, it's got absolutely fantastic, there's a new word, infrastructure to communicate with it between the missiles and the ship itself. So it can launch up to 8 missiles in less than 10 seconds, and then once it has those in the air, it can basically get more in the air instantaneously and have up to 16 missiles in the air at a time, which it can, through its sensor infrastructure, guide up simultaneously to their targets. And the target can be a lot of different stuff. So you're tracking and destroying multiple aerial threats, which may be hostile aircraft, they may be anti-ship, anti-surface missiles, they may be increasingly UAS. In regard to additional anti-air missiles, just to say, it uses the PAAMS air defense system, which utilizes 48 cell silver VLS, and that can fire Aster 15 and Aster 30, which are AA missiles, with a range. Aster 15 I think has a 30km range, and then Aster 30 has a 120km range. In regard to the countermeasures it has on board, because this is something rather underestimated, something that's really rather important in the age of mosaic warfare, in the age of just general defence. It's got an onboard SEGNAT decoy system, which uses radar jamming and general deception to protect the Type 45 destroyer from incoming missiles. And then for torpedoes and I think general waterborne threats, it works for surface craft UUS. It uses the surface ship torpedo defense system. It also has signal exploitation equipment, increment cryptologic exploitation system, but that's really neither here nor there. In regard to radar and sonar, which complements its meteorological and oceanographic, again, I'm really failing with words today. The Type 45 destroyer is equipped with a bow-mounted radar, which uses medium-frequency sonar, which is, I think, the Ultra Electronics EDO MFS 7000 sonar to detect enemy submarines, and then uses Sea Viper, which basically has the complement of the Samson AESA and the S1850M long-range radar to detect and track enemy missiles and enemy air threats in general. But I think it's worth actually going through what the full infrastructure is for radar and sonar. So it's got the Samson multi-function air tracking radar, the S1850M 3D air surveillance radar, the Raytheon integrated bridge navigation system, 2 Raytheon AHRS INS systems, 2 Raytheon I-band radars, and 1 Raytheon E or F-band radar. And then 3 Ultra Electronics outfits, which is the Series 2500 electro-optical gun system, the SML Technologies radar tracking system, and that bow-mounted radar, which is the EDO MFS 7000. As well, what I actually quite like about the ship, if you haven't been able to tell already, in the aim of reducing radar signature, Type 45 uses this incredibly sleek superstructure panel, which covers the entire boat. Brilliant armour in itself, but also looks great, and it's largely composite as well, so it increases stealth, and it uses this to cover up the certain panels that would normally have, I guess, shown deployable boats, deck equipment, this sort of stuff. And this isn't actually to be underestimated. I think Type 45's, or a lot of Type 45's scare factor, beyond its guns and missiles and all of that, is in the way it looks. It looks incredible if you're Britain or a British ally. Terrifying if you're an enemy of Britain. And I think the idea of looking the part with this incredibly advanced technology, ridiculously potent amalgamation of weapons and defence systems, this superstructure, it's hugely important actually. And firms are really beginning to recognise that. Perhaps, scare tactics is the wrong way to put it, but looking the part of the incredible technology that you are. So, someone put it to me like this: there are 3 things that we are scared of. That which we're meant to be afraid of biologically, that which we know we should be afraid of, and that's either biological or sociological, and that which we can't understand. And Type 45 really does encapsulate all of these for the enemy, both in an incredibly advanced technology and in the way it looks with these superstructure panels. So I think I'll leave it there. That's really all the information I have on Type 45, because I'm currently looking into it, but I just thought it would be good to go over a bit of an overview of what Type 45 has. So that's the end.